And I want to ask you more about your modeling. What kind of modeling do you do, and how did you become model in Korea? Like, I know Brazil and Korea have very different culture, right? What kind of difficulties have you experienced, like, because of cultural difference?
And I was like, how they memorize this? I cannot. And for them it was very easy, for me it was very hard. So that was definitely a cultural shock.
Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jin. In this video, I interviewed 3 amazing Brazilians. This interview is gonna be divided into 2 videos. The first video is about their job, visa, scholarship, and some cultural differences. And the second video will be about dating with Koreans as a Brazilian and stereotypes. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and let's check it out. What do you do in Korea right now?
So right now I'm AI engineer. I work in a Korean company, but I came to Korea as a student. I did my master's degree here. After graduate, I started to work in the company.
Now I'm a model, but I did come to Korea first to study, and I did my master's degree here.
I am a master's degree student in Hankook University of Foreign Studies, and I study international relations.
First question is, what brought you to Korea? Like, was there any special reason for
Yeah.
choosing Korea?
Like looking back 5 or 6 years ago, honestly, I didn't know many things about Korea. Like I was finishing my undergraduate. I felt like I really need to do master's degree, and I felt like I need to go somewhere that has like very high quality education and somewhere famous for IT, because I'm computer scientist. And of course, there is Korea. And there are other countries as well, right? Like America, Germany, or Japan as well. My first thought at that time was like, I don't want to be too mainstream. So many Brazilians, they normally go to Europe or they go to America. So it's too common, and there are not many like cultural difference, and like even the language, like in English, is like quite common. But I didn't know Korean language at all, Korean culture and society and everything. So I felt like if I came to Korea, I would not learn only like my master's degree, but also about everything else, like the daily life, the culture, the language. So this was my motivation, like the big challenge, like coming to Korea, and I don't regret. Yeah, I don't regret at all.
In my undergrad, I studied architecture, and I had a lot of interest in Asian architecture. And at that time, the government in Brazil had a scholarship for university students to study a year abroad, and Korea was one of the options. So I decided to come here because I wanted to, I had interest in Asian architecture in general, and I wanted to go to a different place, so I decided to come here.
One time I organized an event and we invited the ambassador of South Korea in Brazil, and he went, and I got more interested about studying Korea because he presented to us the program funded by the government. But my first option for a master degree was not Korea. Yeah, I wanted to go to the United States because I've previously went there for exchange and I really liked it. So I wanted to go back. And also because my focus on my undergrad studies was American politics. But because of COVID, I couldn't get my TOEFL exam on time for the applications. So I was like, well, I'm not doing anything. What if I apply for the scholarship from the Korean government? But I didn't have high hopes because it's a very competitive scholarship, especially in Brazil. It was only 5 spots through the embassy. And I was like, okay, let me just apply. And I passed. Yeah, I got selected. And I was super surprised. I was not expecting, it changed my plans.
You're working in Korea, right?
Yeah.
So what visa do you have right now?
So right now I have the F2 visa. It means like resident visa. It's very similar to the F6 marriage visa. And there is the other one, it is F5, it's permanent resident visa. So they're all quite similar. The difference is mine, I have to renew it every 3 or 5 years. But I can change to the other one anytime I want, since I already live in Korea for a long time. If I will explain how I got it. First, when I was doing my master's degree, I was already very worried about getting a job in Korea. So I was already planning to stay here, and I really was thinking for everything I should prepare, and one of the things that could help me is the visa thing, right? So I started to prepare to get this F2 visa. is point system. So if you have minimal points, you can apply it and get it.
So what kind of preparation did you do?
First, doing master's degree in Korea is already a good thing, like master's or PhD. It already helped you with a lot of points. And of course, the topic, the 한국어 언어력 시험. So I also did it. And there is one extra thing called KIIP. It's a Korea Immigration Integration Program.
Yeah.
It's a program from the Korean government, actually. When you conclude this program, you can do the exam. And if you pass the exam, it helps you a lot to get points.
You can get extra points.
Yes, it is.
Could you explain about like your visa?
Yes, my visa now is basically a Korean green card, is a permanent resident visa. Before I came on a student visa and then I changed to resident visa and etc. etc.
There must be a lot of people who want to get permanent visa in Korea and curious how to get it. Do you have any advice for them?
Yes, study, get a master's degree or a PhD if you can, because that's important when getting a permanent visa, it counts. And prepare in advance, because rules change all the time, like they change all the time, and some things you need take a lot of time to get. So prepare, years in advance, like 1, 2 years. If you're studying a master's, start preparing when you're studying your master's. Preparation is key.
I heard like getting GKS scholarship is really difficult because it's very competitive and a lot of students want to get the scholarship. Like, how did you get that?
Yeah, it's very competitive, especially if you come from a big country. So you must have a good curriculum and good recommendation letters, and you gotta kind of persuade them why they should choose you. For example, I explained them that I was really interested in diplomacy and that I would like to learn more about Korean diplomacy and how I could connect both Brazil and Korea in some kind of ways. I think that caught their attention. And yeah, but if you prepare your documents, many people get eliminated in the documents because they don't prepare it well, and there is some missing documents or incomplete, or the translation is not correct. So just like be aware, check your documents over and over again, and don't be afraid to try a second time because it is really hard to get.
You're AI engineer right now,
Yeah.
right? So how did you get this job in Korea?
First, when I was doing my master's in computer science, I was already studying AI. Like my lab, my research was AI, machine learning oriented. So I was already in that area, like studying it. So when I applied for a job, I applied directly to AI or machine learning jobs. The way to apply, there are several ways. The most common one is probably through websites like LinkedIn or some Korean websites as well, like Job Korea or Saramin, like this kind of website. So that time I already knew about it, so I also made my profile in there and I applied through there. Also, like nowadays, there are a lot of headhunters around, especially for IT. And if you contact one of them, then another will come and they start to recommend you here and there. This method also helps a lot to get a job.
And what about language? Like, how much Korean language do you have to speak to work in Korea?
I think it depends about the company. Like since my company is fully like Korean company, I do quite a lot. When I'm like talking something very specific, like very technical, I try to speak more English than Korean. But when I'm just talking with people from another teams and try to explain more general way, then I explain it in Korean. Yeah.
And I want to ask you more about your modeling. What kind of modeling do you do, and how did you become model in Korea?
I do commercials and I do fashion too, like photos and runway. Like I had interest in modeling and I started like practicing and trying to take photos like with photographers that wanted to practice and stuff at the beginning when I was a student because I couldn't work. And after that, like learning, meeting people, I started looking for jobs and I started booking jobs. But it took some time. It takes some time. It's something that you have to go getting into it and getting experience, knowing people.
Next question is about like life in Korea.
Oh, sure.
What do you think is the best thing about living or studying in Korea?
Of course, like very convenient. Like the transportation and everything's 24 hours. Not everything, but there's so many 24 hours like 편의점 and convenience stores and like the delivery. Everything is so convenient, and this is a good thing. Another thing is like I don't remember when was the last time I felt bored. Like in Korea, I don't remember. Like it's always busy, always something to do. If not, I need to take a rest. I'm too tired, so I need to take a rest.
I think the first one is the security. You feel very safe wherever you go. Like I can go late at night to a club or to a friend's house, and I can use public transportation without being afraid of being robbed or anything like that. So I feel really safe here to walk around at night, to grab taxis alone. So safety is definitely a plus.
Korea is it has a lot of conveniences in a sense that everything is easy to find and a lot of things are 24 hours, and that's not very common in Brazil, at least not in my city. And it's very safe, so I feel safe going out at night. That's very important to me.
Especially for women, it's more important.
Yes, that's very important.
So the next question is about like cultural difference. Like I know Brazil and Korea have very different culture, right? What kind of difficulties have you experienced like because of cultural difference?
I would say firstly about the meal. The meal culture is very different, like Korea and Brazil. In Korea, when you're eating with someone, you always like wait for either like older people start to eat first or everyone start together. In Brazil, like if you go out, I don't know, like any restaurant and your meal comes first, you don't think and already start to eat. So it's not a problem in there, but here it is, and this is something that I didn't know in the beginning, but I got used to. Also, the drinking culture, like in Korea, it's very common to eat and drink at the same time for dinner. In Brazil, when you go out to drink with your friends, normally you eat first in your home and then you meet just for drink. So it's not that common to like have some samgyeopsal and drinks alcohol together. This combined with the dinner time. Korea normally people eat dinner 5:30, 6. This is very early for Brazilian. Like we eat like 8 or sometimes at 9. So many times I got lost about these kind of situations, and
The way that the teachers were teaching us Korean, it was like really different from me, because in Brazil we do not learn things by memorizing like they do in Asia, and that's like one thing that I noticed, because here it's common for you to see like the students in the library just like memorizing every line, and they sit for hours, like hours and hours studying, and this is not common for me as a Brazilian, because we do not usually sit for hours to study like that, unless you're like about to enter the university or you need to do like this big exam to enter university. So okay, you see people studying for that, but you will never see like someone just arrived from his history class, oh, let me just memorize everything that I learned. No, you will never see that. And here, because I had many also Asian classmates from other countries, like from Malaysia, from Brunei, from China, I would see them having a really easy time memorizing, because in their country is the same. And then the teacher would give us this very big list of words to memorize, and I was like, how they memorize this? I cannot. And for them it was very easy, for me it was very hard. So that was definitely a cultural shock.
Then what about working culture in Korea? Is there any differences from Brazil or like some traits in Korea?
Yeah, definitely it's very different from Brazil, and I used to work in Brazil before coming here. I would say the first big difference is how Koreans are very diligent with time and schedule. For example, like the 출퇴근 시간. Let's say if your work starts at 9 a.m., the Koreans are there at 9. Maximum at 9. They are like 10 minutes before, maybe 5 minutes before, but they are there at 9. Meanwhile, in Brazil, it's not really like this. Like I don't know if things change nowadays, but it used to be like if it starts at 9, people arrive at 9:10, 9:15, 9:20, some of the 9:30. Koreans, the schedule is very tight, so they start it very fast. They go through the guidelines of the structure and they follow the rules very well. Brazilians, they are more flexible. So let's say we have a project, and in Brazil, if you have a solution, but it's different from the first solution, it's not big problem. But in Korea, like, it's kind of a problem. Like, you have to follow the guideline, you have to follow like the structure. Like, if you do another solution, even though it works, if it's different, then you cannot. So this kind of difference exists.
What do you think is the differences between dating Brazilian woman and Korean woman? Yeah.
I think the Korean guys are definitely more dry.
Dry.
Yeah, like
It's funny because a lot of people, when you say you're Brazilian, they're like, samba, soccer. It's not bad, it's just that we have this image, everybody thinks we know samba or are good at soccer.